Yes, they met. Yes, that was against William's wishes, but there was no sense that I'm getting that Charles laid out the red carpet for Harry.
Picture this: Prince Harry flying across the Atlantic and dressing sharply for tea at Clarence House. He was probably rehearsing speeches in the mirror, only to leave with nothing but a weak cup of tea and a bruised ego. That's the scene the world can't stop laughing at right now. This meeting was highly anticipated, as it was hyped as Harry's big reunion with King Charles, the first father-son conversation in over a year. People expected deep talks and maybe even the beginning of a healing process, but what they got was just a glorified coffee break.
These two images from Meghan's mole side by side show why Harry looked so miserable on leaving Clarence House.
Multiple outlets claimed that the so-called peace summit lasted less than 55 minutes, with insiders whispering that the real conversation barely stretched past 20 minutes. It's difficult to imagine that, by the time the biscuits hit the table, Harry was already back on his feet, red-faced and storming out. The internet is now ablaze with savage memes and captions like, "Harry came for the crown, but left with crumbs," as others mock him for needing a royal lifeline, but walking away with nothing but tabloid headlines. It's brutal, to say the least. Ever since he married Meghan, he has spectacularly lost his popularity and seems to be obsessed with getting it back. Here's where it gets even uglier. Apparently, Harry showed up with a laundry list of demands, including titles and security support, all the things he claimed to have given up when he turned his back on the monarchy. But King Charles was not having it. There was no deal, no handshakes, just a swift dismissal that has the internet saying, "Harry walked in as a prince and walked out looking like a punchline." This was supposed to be his comeback moment, his chance to prove he still mattered at the royal table. Instead, it's another public relations disaster, one that has even his supporters quietly asking if Harry is running out of moves for good.
But ever since he hooked up with Meghan, he has spectacularly lost his popularity. He seems to be obsessed with getting it back.
So here is the burning question. Did King Charles just slam the door on Harry's last chance at reconciliation? Or did Harry foolishly walk himself straight into a royal trap? Either way, those 55 minutes are now being called one of the most awkward encounters in royal history. Forget the image of a warm family tea. Insiders described Clarence House that day as if it had turned into a Cold War bunker. Security locked down the gates and cameras mysteriously shut off. It's said that Harry ended up apologizing to the king, not the other way around. Staff shuffled through the halls like ghosts who knew a bombshell was about to drop. The air was thick with tension, not comfort. Then the numbers hit. The entire meeting was just 55 minutes long, barely enough time for a soap opera episode. But here's the kicker.
This meeting actually went for a much shorter period than what the rest of the mainstream media is reporting.
Sources claim that out of the 55 minutes, Harry and Charles only spent about 20 minutes alone together. The rest of the time was taken up by endless protocols, stiff security checks, and Harry awkwardly twiddling his thumbs while courtiers whispered in corners. Some online commentators compared it to waiting in line at the DMV, but with much fancier wallpaper.
I'll tell you the real reason. It's all a PR stunt.
But the real twist was Queen Camilla. She slid into that room and instantly flipped the vibe. For Harry, who has taken more than a few public shots at her over the years, this was like expecting a private father-son talk, and instead finding his least favorite boss running the entire meeting. Imagine walking in hoping for a heartfelt family moment, only to realize you are sitting across from the woman you have practically branded as a villain. No wonder whispers say Harry left looking tight-lipped and frustrated.
The feud between William and Harry is as bitter as ever.
This wasn't a tea. It was a staged showdown where Harry came looking for sympathy, but instead was served cold reality with a side dish of Camilla. Commentators were quick to pounce on the irony that Harry may have walked in expecting a warm father-son heart-to-heart, but what he actually got was the royal power couple, tag team edition. Charles and Camilla were side by side, staring him down like a board of directors.
William at one point within 7 miles of his brother, so near and yet so far, refusing to see it.
And the strangest part, there was no official palace statement, no polite photo op of a smiling exit, nothing, just a cold silence that screamed louder than words and made the entire event look shady. If this meeting was truly about healing, why did it feel more like a failed business deal that ended before dessert? That's when the whispers really started to heat up because, according to insiders, Harry did not stroll into Clarence House for tea tea and small talk. He came loaded with demands and an agenda thicker than a royal history book. Forget Earl Grey and biscuits. This was negotiation time.
They know that once King William is King William, that they're done, that they're completely cut off.
And the rumored list of demands left even seasoned royal reporters clutching their pearls. First on the table was a request for cold, hard cash. Reports claim that Harry floated the idea of financial backing, which immediately triggered online mockery. People joked that it was less like a reconciliation meeting and more like a desperate Shark Tank pitch, except the investor was his father, the King of England. It was brutal.
Yes, they met, but King Charles gave Harry the cold shoulder with no special treatment.
Then came the most explosive request of all. Titles. That's right, Harry allegedly pressed for royal recognition, not just for himself but for his family too. Social media went into overdrive, split down the middle. Some argued that he was bravely fighting for his wife and kids, while others said he was shamelessly begging for prestige he had already walked away from. Either way, the internet had no mercy, roasting him for trying to play both the victim and the prince in the same breath. Online, others were quick to joke that Harry's reunion sounded less about crowns and more about clout.
I mean, him and Meghan have this really flash new PR team over in LA who are trying to make all these meetings happen.
Buried inside that rumored agenda was not just titles and financial help, but also demands for boosted security and even coverage for his spiraling legal bills. If that is true, then Harry basically showed up with a shopping cart full of royal favors, rattling it straight into Clarence House as if it was a family supermarket run. Commentators described the energy as urgent, pushy, and anything but humble, like crashing a family dinner and demanding Wi-Fi passwords, car keys, and a stack of cash before dessert is even served. The internet wasted no time roasting him, and one viral post compared Harry's list to a kid asking Santa for every single toy in the catalog.
This is the sort of meeting that the king does with strangers. It's not the meeting he does with loved ones.
And then he acted shocked when the sleigh came back empty. Brutal doesn't even begin to cover it. But here is where things flipped. King Charles's response. Reports say Harry poured out his wish list, and the king met him with an icy chill that could have frozen Buckingham Palace's fountains on the spot. Witnesses describe Charles's tone as calm, measured, and totally unyielding. There was no yelling and no dramatic scene, just that deadly kind of silence. The kind a teacher uses when they catch you cheating and do not even bother to raise their voice. It was not anger, it was dismissal.
She was the villain. She was the third person in the marriage. She needed to rehabilitate her.
Beneath it all, insiders whispered one simple truth. This wasn't about money, titles, or security anymore. It was about trust. When it came to Prince Harry, the palace made it clear there wasn't any left. Public opinion framed King Charles's response as the ultimate royal rejection, cold, official, and devastatingly delivered without him even lifting a finger. Insiders say that Charles leaned heavily on protocol, not personal emotion, meaning he did not give Harry the satisfaction of an argument. There was no raised voice or dramatic showdown, just a pure, stone-cold monarchy mode, the kind of ice that cuts deeper than any outburst. Online, people joked that it felt like Harry was trying to return a broken item at a store, only to hear, "Sorry, no refunds, no exchanges, policy is policy." With Queen Camilla seated firmly at the table, the refusal became bulletproof.
This man, I think, will be asking Dad for a little bit more money very, very quickly. I only see bad things on the horizon.
Commentators argued that Charles was not acting as a dad in his living room. He was channeling his inner CEO in a high-stakes boardroom. Memes erupted instantly. Charles was painted as a granite wall, solid and unshakable, while Harry was mocked as the guy desperately bouncing a tennis ball against it, hoping for cracks that never came. The imagery stuck because it perfectly summed up the vibe, Harry begging for leverage and Charles giving him nothing but stony silence. But here's where the drama spiked. Harry's reaction. Witnesses say he did not leave with dignity, he left with speed. When the so-called talk ended, the real spectacle began outside Clarence House. Onlookers described Harry storming out with a walk that screamed, "Meeting adjourned." There were no waves to the cameras, no polite smiles, and no trace of warmth, just a tight-lipped exit that told the world everything it needed to know. The father-son bond was nowhere in sight.
Harry is really, really deep in trouble at the moment, even financially. I mean, we know that Meghan's jam failed to sell out. Her season 2 of her cooking show was an absolute disaster.
Harry's farewell was not warm. It was cold and abrupt, more like a fire drill than a heartfelt family reunion. There were no waves and no lingering glances, just a quick march out the door that screamed defeat. The internet pounced instantly. Memes spread like wildfire, with one viral jab comparing his exit to leaving a group project after doing all the work but still getting zero credit. Savage. The timing only made things worse. 55 minutes total, less than 20 minutes of real father-son talk, and Harry leaving without so much as a doggy bag of royal leftovers. Online wits dubbed it the shortest royal comeback tour in history, and that nickname stuck fast. Even the photographs became a battlefield of perception. King Charles was later pictured looking calm, polished, and regal, the very image of control.